What's going on YouTube? I am back with another video, and in this one we have a little bit of a different grading video. So a local guy here in the area, him and his son are at a bunch of the local card shows, and his son, I believe, is actually like 12 or 13 years old, and he actually opened his own card shop inside of his FedEx store. So shout out to them. If you want to check out his Instagram, it's Connors. I think it's Connors and One Sports Cards. I'll throw it on screen or in the description below. But they wanted to send in some already graded cards to PSA. They wanted me to go ahead and crack them and submit them to PSA. Now these are gonna go to PSA at the economy level. So I'm about to send these out in a submission. I am recording this video on Thursday, March 31st. So we'll see how long it takes. PSA has been advertising that the economy, which is the $50 price point, takes around 3 months or 90 days. So we'll see how long it takes. Probably gonna have to sit on this footage for a little bit because I'm not gonna upload the video until these do come back, and I'll show you guys what they come back graded as PSA cards. So I do want to go ahead excuse me, I do want to go ahead and show you guys all of the cards that we're going to send. And I believe there's like 3 different grading companies represented here, so it should definitely be interesting to see what grades cross over to PSA. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to show you guys the graded cards here, then I'm going to go ahead and crack them out of the cases, show you guys the cards again, and then once they do come back from PSA, I'll be sure to show you guys what grades they get with PSA. So let's go ahead and get into it. First up, we actually have a Joe Burrow Optic Hollow, and this one is graded with, I believe that's what is that, Black Mamba? I've never actually seen one of these in person. Yeah, there you go. So on the back, it's Black Mamba grading, and this one was graded a 10 with Black Mamba. So there is the before, and again, I'm going to show you guys all these, then I'll go ahead and crack them all out, show them to you again, and then once they come back from PSA, I'll show you guys the updated grades. Next up, we have a Dak Prescott. This is a BGS 9.5. Now this one's interesting too because it doesn't actually have the subgrades. So, not really sure if there was a 9 or anything like that, what that would have been if it was corners, edges, surface. So this one will be interesting as well. So BGS 9.5, but no subgrades. And then next up, we have a Justin Herbert Optic Blue Scope. Now this is an SGC 9.5. This one is going to be pretty interesting too, because I've kind of wondered, myself, when I get cards back from SGC that are 9.5s, I've kind of thought about, maybe potentially cracking some of them and sending it to PSA and see if it will cross over to a 10. So I'm definitely interested to see what this one gets. Honestly, I kind of wish he was sending some of these at regular, just so we would get them back fairly quickly, and kind of see what the grades cross over to PSA as a little bit quicker. But that's okay. Definitely, totally their choice to send at economy. So anyway, SGC 9.5 here, and then we have an HGA. So we have Black Mamba. Oh, we have 4 different companies. Okay, so Black Mamba, BGS, SGC, and HGA. So it will definitely be really interesting to see what does well, and potentially if anything doesn't cross over that well. So anyway, next up we have another Joe Burrow. This is the Optic Green Velocity. This one did get a 9.5, and looks like the edges got a 9. So centering got a 10, corners and surface got 9.5s. So I would say this one should be a pretty solid candidate to cross over to PSA and get a 10, but we shall see. And then the final card, we're going to send in another Herbert. This one is the Optic Hollow SGC 9.5. So that does it for the cards we're sending. That's going to be 5 graded cards. Now I'm going to go ahead and crack these out of their cases. I will check back in and show you guys the cards once they are in raw condition. And then, again, I'll show you guys the cards once they come back from PSA. So hold on one second. All right, guys, and we are back. So we have cracked out all the cards. I just want to go ahead and show you the raw cards in the raw format. Now, and I also kind of wanted to talk about, cracking each case. I will definitely say I haven't cracked any SGC cases up until now, and those are definitely my favorite. They just come apart like super clean. They're not easy to crack. Like you definitely have to use some force. I know I think it was like pure graded X or something. You could like crack them with your bare hands. You definitely can't do that with SGC. I don't want to say that. It's not like it's easy to come apart, but they just come apart really clean. So those are definitely my favorite to crack. But anyway, there is the Burrow Hollow. I don't remember which one was in the Black Mamba, but that one was actually kind of hard to crack, not because you know, it was just super secure and thick or anything. It was because I feel like they used a super cheap plastic. So typically I will use pliers and take a corner and just break that corner and then use a flathead and kind of peel it up. But when I tried to use the pliers to break the Black Mamba case, the plastic literally just bent. It would like, you know, say this is the case here. This was, the corner was like up like this before it would actually crack. So, you know, I honestly, I hate cracking cases. It is one of my least favorite things to do, just because I don't like taking the risk of potentially damaging someone else's card, especially in a case like that when you have to like really bend the plastic for it to break. So I feel like they just used like a super cheap plastic and just didn't break very cleanly. But there is the Justin Herbert Optic Hollow. And by far my least favorite cases to crack is BGS. They are just super thick and hard to crack. I absolutely hate them. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. SGC, definitely my favorite. PSA is very easy too. Black Mamba, not good. And BGS, very bottom. Hate cracking those cases. There is the Herbert Optic Blue Scope. And finally, the Dak Prescott Prism Silver. So we're gonna go ahead and send these to PSA at economy. And for you guys, it's gonna be a couple seconds. For me, it's probably gonna be about 2 or 3 months before these come back. So when they are back, I will resume the video and show you guys the grades. All right, guys, and we are back. The cards are finally back from PSA. So real quick, I'll just mention the timeline, you know, how long these did take at PSA Economy. So these were entered in the system on April 7th, and they were shipped back on May 16th. I did not calculate, you know, how many business days that was. If you guys want to calculate that, you are free to. But again, they were shipped out May 16th. So should be a pretty accurate time frame for how long Economy is taking right now. So again, we sent 5 cards, and these were all cracked from other grading companies. So we had HGA, SGC, BGS, and Black Mamba. So definitely excited to show you guys the grades and see how the other companies crossed over to PSA. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I believe I have these in the correct order from when I showed them in previous clips. So first up, we do have our Burrow Hollow. This one was cracked from a Black Mamba 10, and this one did come back a PSA 9. So, you know, when you're cracking cards from other companies to send to PSA or, you know, whatever it may be, it would definitely be nice to, it would be really nice to know what PSA saw to give it a 9, and, you know, as compared to, you know, when it was a 10 with Black Mamba, but we don't have that information. So honestly, we have no idea why it got a 9, but this one, again, was a Black Mamba 10 and crossed over to a PSA 9, if that tells you guys out there anything. And then next up, we have our Dak Prescott. This one was a BGS 9.5. and it did cross to a PSA 9. And I can tell the centering on this one is not perfect. Now, it is definitely within the PSA parameters for a 10, but you know, this one was also interesting because it was a BGS 9.5, but it did not have subgrades, so not really sure if the centering was what if the centering was maybe a 9, or if, you know, there was something else that was a 9. So kind of hard to tell again on this one, but this one again was a BGS 9.5 crossed over to a PSA 9. So that was the Dak. And then next up, we have a Herbert Optic Blue Scope. This one was an SGC 9.5 and crossed over to a PSA 10. So that could be something to think about out there. You know, if you guys have SGC 9.5s and it's a card like this that would probably be worth sending to PSA at that $50 level to potentially get a 10, could be something to think about. So again, this one was an SGC 9.5 crossed over to a PSA 10. So very nice cross there on the Herbert. And then next up, we have our Burrow. This one was an HGA 9.5. and this one crossed over to a PSA 10. So we have the Joe Burrow Optic Green Velocity, again, an HGA 9.5 crossed to a PSA 10. If you guys out there have HGA cards, I would highly recommend crossing them to PSA. They are basically going to have no value in the HGA holders, unless you just like the way it looks, which I've said before, totally fine. But if you want to get maximum value, crack them out, send them to PSA. We definitely know that HGA graded way too hard, and that was really one of, to their huge detriment. They graded way too hard. So if you have an HGA 9.5, I would definitely recommend crossing to try to get that PSA 10. They were successful here. And then finally, we have another Herbert. This was a Herbert Optic Hollow, and this one was an SGC 9.5 as well. And this one crossed to a PSA 9. So that kind of tells me that the SGC 9.5 cross to PSA is kind of a toss-up. I think you're probably safely going to get a PSA 9 at least, but whether or not it gets the 9 or the 10, I feel like it's kind of a 50-50 toss-up. I know this was a very small sample size. We only had 2 SGC 9.5s. One got a 9, one got a 10. So I'm just kind of going off that. I feel like, probably a pretty solid toss-up there. I've honestly never crossed an SGC card to PSA, so I didn't really have any experience with that. But yeah, if you have a card kind of similar to these, the Herbert Blue Scope or the Herbert Hollow that is in an SGC 9.5, and you feel like it might get a significant price increase from crossing to PSA, and you want to risk it, go for it. So that is going to do it for the results. Overall, pretty solid. Nothing crossed to like a PSA 7 or 8. So we got straight 9s and 10s. So I think it was definitely worth the risk. Probably got a good enough price increase on the 2 10s to make it worth it for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you soon.